Well, welcome to another baking session, and we're going to make some, because we haven't done it for a little while, some macarons. Now, these ones are my own invention. Well, it's a standard macaron shell, okay, but the filling is one I've certainly not come across before. I was seeing various recipes for sort of this sort of filling, that sort of filling in Nutella, for instance. And then I thought, hang on, I've got some Biscoff spread, and I like Biscoff, and I know a lot of people do. And if you don't, tuck it, because I like it. So I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some sort of chocolatey, if you like. So I've got a bit of cocoa powder going into the shells, and then we're going to fill it with a buttercream Biscoff spread buttercream. Okay, so with macarons, because everything sort of needs to get ready, you know, as soon as you start going, you need to get it finished. Got everything prepared. I've got my trays with some silicone liners with templates on. I've degreased my bowl and my whisk. I prepared a piping bag with a round tip, ready for piping the shells. I mean, we haven't prepared for the buttercream yet, because that's when the shells are done. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sift together some stuff, dissolve up our sugar, and then we can put it all together, bish bash bosh. So, Biscoff macarons. So I've got a little bowl sitting in a saucepan, a bit of water. Water doesn't touch the bowl, okay? That's where we're going to do our egg whites and granulated sugar. We've got 100 grams of egg whites and 100 grams of caster sugar. I say granulated, you can use granulated, don't use caster, okay? But we won't do anything to that, that's at temperature. But before that, we want to prepare our almond flour and icing sugar mix that will go in there once we're ready to add it, because you want everything ready. Okay, so what I've got is I've got some icing sugar. I've got 75 grams of that, and we're going to sieve all this. So that's why we need to get it all prepared beforehand. Now I'm adding 4 grams of egg white powder, and that's going to go in there with that if it decides it wants to come out. There's my little thing on. And then I've got some cocoa powder. Cocoa powder, I've got 14 grams of that. That looks a lot. I suppose it is light stuff, isn't it? That go in there. And then finally I've got my almond flour. I've got 105 grams of that. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the sieve, and we're now just going to just move all these other bits over, and we're now just going to put that through the sieve. Okay, give it a quick mix together, and then we're going to be ready when we need to fold it into our egg white mixture. So that's sifted in the bowl. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my egg whites, I'm going to put it into that boiler, as it were, that double boiler, and I'm going to add in that sugar. And now we're just going to keep mixing that in, and what we want to find is that the egg whites, the sugar is all dissolved in as best we can. Well, not as best we can, until it is all in. Okay, now we'll know when that's done, okay, because it won't feel gritty if we sort of try it. So I'm just going to, I've turned that right down low as well, okay, so we're just going to sort of keep whisking this up until we're ready to transfer it into the stand mixer. Okay, where we will then whisk it on a nice low speed until it's ready to whisk up into peaks, as it were. Okay, so we'll get this stage done now. So it's gone into my stand mixer, and we're now just going to let that whisk on low. We don't want to rush into shoving the speed up. Okay, otherwise what we do is all them nice protein chains in the egg white all get ripped apart, if you like, and they won't whisk up and foam up properly. So we've got it on sort of minimum at the minute. We're getting bubbles, obviously it's getting foamy. So in a second I'm going to turn the speed up to getting on for medium, and then we're just going to whisk it until it's gone white and starting to go fluffy. Okay, at which point we put the speed up higher and we're looking for peaks, soft peaks. Okay, so that's what we're doing next. So that's nicely peaked. So what I'm going to do to start off with, I'm just going to take a spatula full of that and I'm just going to put it into the sifted bowl of the sifted ingredients. Okay, and not worry about being too gentle at this stage, but trying to get some of that powdery stuff at least partly combined. And then we're just going to tip it into there. And now the idea is we're now just going to gently fold it by sort of doing J's through the mixture so that we're not knocking all the air out of that meringue, as it were. Now you need to make sure you get right down to the bottom to get everything in there, and we're just going to keep doing that until we can't see any more white streaks in it, and also so that when we lift it up, and it looks a bit lumpy, right? It will flow gently off of the spatula back into the mixture, and we can sort of get it to sort of fold into that, like that's still too sluggish. Now you don't want to overdo this because there's not much you can do if you do. Alright, so it's better to do a bit of folding, check it, just get in there. Okay, and then you have the piping bag ready, and we'll transfer that into the piping bag ready to start piping out. Like I said, I've already got my trays prepared. Oven's on 165, so we'll get that transferred in the piping bag shortly. So I've got my bag in there with, like I say, a nice round tip, and we're now just going to put that mixture into the bag. Now remember, whoops, there's some white bits there, I must have missed that bit. Remember, like I said before, because this is quite runny, then what we need to do is just fold over the bottom of the bag where the nozzle is to ensure it doesn't come running straight out the bottom. Alright, I've gone for a small jug this time. I normally have a glass, and the thing is you can't really quite fit it all in there. So I think I've just about got all that out of there. So I'm just trying to get it just inside them, the outer ring on my one. Okay, and we're just going to go along, and then like normal what we will do is we will then bang it onto the table, making sure we get the air bubbles out, and then we'll go through it with a cocktail stick, removing any air bubbles, and then we're just going to let it stand for about 20 minutes plus to partly dry out. Now you should better tell when they're dry, because it's almost like they've got a skin on top. Get me out in that one. Okay, and then it'll go in the oven, and what we're going to do is we're going to cook them 5 minutes, and then rotate the tray round 5 minutes, I'll take the tray round for a total of probably getting on for about 15 minutes. Right, so sorry, so shells are out, they're cooling. Okay, so now we're going to make the filling. So for that I've got some nice soft butter. I've got 56 grams of that. We're going to be adding to that 225 grams of powdered sugar, sieved, I should say sifted, that's American, isn't it? We're going to be adding, like I said, some Biscoff spread. I've got about 5 generous tablespoons full of that. Okay. The only other things I've got is I've got a little bit of milk, because if the buttercream is too thick, we'll add a tiny bit of milk until it's the right consistency, but we might not need to. And then to decorate it, I'm going to melt some chocolate, and we're going to drizzle a little bit of chocolate on it. And then while the chocolate is still wet, I'm going to sprinkle it with some crushed Biscoff biscuit. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to cream up, using my hand whisk, the butter till that's nice and light and fluffy, as they say in baking trade. So now what we're going to do is we're now just going to add in that Biscoff spread, and we'll whisk that together with that butter. Oh look, can't get it all out the bowl, might have to lick that clean. Come out. So, like I say, we're now just going to whisk that into the butter for about a minute or two. So now, like I say, what we're going to do is we're going to carefully sift the icing sugar. Did I call it powdered sugar earlier? I'm bloody American, aren't I? We're just going to sift that in, and then rather than turn the hand mixer in on it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my spatula just to gently mix it in a little bit by hand, so at least that way we don't get all the icing sugar all over the kitchen. Alright, so just going to get that into the bowl, give it a mix round, and then we're just going to whisk that in until that's all incorporated. So I've paired up my shells, and what we're going to do is we're just going to take bottom half, and we're just going to add a little ring of buttercream filling, and plonk the shell top on top. And so I'm just going to go along and do all of that, and then what we'll do is we'll melt down our chocolate, make sure it's tempered because we want it to set, and then we'll just decorate them. You don't have to decorate them if you don't want to. The texture of the Biscoff, the buttercream, is quite crunchy almost, and that's because I've been using, or I am using rather, a crunchy version of the spread, which I must admit I didn't realise I bought, and I didn't even realise they did. But it's very nice. If you like the Biscoff spread, you'll certainly like the crunchy variety. So I'm just going to finish off filling all these shells. So here I've melted down some chocolate, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to drizzle some over one side of it. First one's come out a bit of a splodge, but we'll just keep the chocolate moving. Getting a few lines on it now, and then, like I say, my final little touch, whoop, that's trying to talk while I'm doing it, final little touch is I'm now just going to sprinkle some Biscoff biscuit that I've crunched up over the top on the chocolate bit, and then we'll just let that set, and then we can plate these up as it were and try them out. Well, I have tried the buttercream, obviously. I've also tried one of the macarons because I had one spare, and of course it didn't have a partner, so I couldn't like partner it up, and it also cracked on top, that one. So the macarons taste alright. There we go. So, like I say, we just let that set, and then we'll have a little look at them. But there you go, there's some Biscoff Macarons, courtesy of Guzzling Gourmet. And there we are, our final Biscoff flavoured macarons. I'm going to try one. Chocolate's still not set, so I'll wait. But there we go, for your delectation.